Aging is Direction. I'm Kathy Clements, your longevity strategist, and I'm really glad you're here. If you're listening to this, chances are you've noticed something has changed or something's not quite the same. What worked for you at 30 doesn't quite work the same anymore. Your energy feels different, your recovery takes longer, sleep matters a whole lot more, and stress hits harder. Maybe quietly you've wondered, am I behind? Or am I doing things wrong? Or so let me reassure you, you're right where you're supposed to be. You're not behind, you're not broken, and you just need a new strategy. And that's what this show is about. So, as we enter this episode, I am going to explain to you why you're not too late. You're under, or maybe you're just undertrained. And the truth that starts hitting after 50 is wow, we're probably a little bit undertrained. So, welcome back and let's get going. So, I'm really glad you're here because this conversation a lot of people need, but not everyone will say it out loud. If you've ever thought, I should have started sooner, I've done too much damage, a lot of us think that. I don't even know where to begin at this point. Some of us have walked away from taking care of ourselves to putting the emphasis on others. And because of that, our own health has kind of deteriorated some. Or I would just like to say it's maybe a little bit deconditioned. And all I want to say to you is you're right on time. You're not too late. And you're maybe just a little undertrained for this season that you're in. And that's it. Not broken, not behind, not disqualified, just underprepared for what your body needs now. And the good news, that's something we can all work on, and you as well. And I'm going to teach you that in this particular episode. So let's talk about what actually happens 40, 50, 60. It sounds overwhelming, but especially for women. So, usually 40s, you're starting to go through menopause. So, there's hormonal changes. Men, I'm not leaving you out because your hormones are changing as well. So, where women are decreasing in estrogen and progesterone and maybe increasing a little bit in testosterone, men are decreasing in testosterone. So, what does this do for you? I remember my grandmother, this is totally off track, but I remember my grandmother feeling like the older she got, the not aggressive, but the more kind of she had. And and now I equate that with hormones. And men, I remember like my grandfather's skin being softer than I remembered it from when I was a kid. And I was never sure earlier um, if that was just because I didn't recall it correctly. But now I realize it too is a hormonal response. The less testosterone, the softer the male body becomes. And the more testosterone in a female body kind of, it doesn't normally affect women as muscle or um, rough skin. It usually affects um, not attitude, but maybe gruffness. How's that? We'll just put it as gruffness. Okay, so back on track. Okay, so 40s, 50s, and 60s. This is where a lot of people quietly lose confidence in themselves, not because you can't improve, but because no one ever showed you how to adjust or make those adjustments that keep you moving forward, that keep you doing the things that you want to do. So let's start with number one. Your body didn't stop working, it just changed requirements. And it didn't quite tell you. Well, it did tell you. It told you in the fact that it stopped responding to the things that you were doing in your 20s and 30s. So after 14, or excuse me, after 40, I wish it was after 14 that we could just make these changes, but after 40, muscle protein synthesis decreases, recovery takes longer, hormonal supports shift, okay, which I've already discussed. Sedentary time compounds faster. And what that means is the more you sit, the more it affects your body. And that's why I heard, maybe even a year ago now, that sitting has become the new, is a new disease. I don't know that I would call it a disease, but it's definitely um, something you don't want to be doing a lot of. Now, I'm sitting right now, and that is a problem. I wish I had a standing desk. I don't currently, but I'm working toward that one. But I do move every day. And that's where it, I work against the time that I'm actually sitting still to do what I need to do on a computer or on a desk. So sedentary time compounds faster. You just have to hear it to know, and you know in your own body that that's true. If you think about it, you're like, yeah, that it kind of is harder to get off the couch or harder to start a program again. So, what worked for you at 25 won't work for you the same way now. Okay. And here's where people are getting stuck. They either try to do what they used to do and get burned out, or do nothing and slowly lose their capacity. We want to find somewhere in between, especially if you haven't been, let's say, exercising or moving on a regular basis. So, neither of those two answers is the answer. The answer is a strategy. So, number two is muscle is not optional anymore. You need muscle to support your skeleton, to give you good posture, to help you in all sorts of ways. Maybe in your 20s and 30s, especially for the men, because, okay, so if you were born when I was, so I'm rounding 63, and I'm going to say, in the 80s, it was all about aerobics. It wasn't about lifting weights for women. Men were lifting weights. Women kind of, that wasn't the thing. It was all about cardio. Not anymore, because men and women need muscle after 40. It protects your metabolism. I know you've heard me say this before, but I'm saying it again because it's very important. It protects your joints. It helps you balance, and it gives you independence. You're like, well, that's not a thing. Well, yes, it is, because if you don't have the confidence to go for a hike or go for a walk, or um, maybe even a bike ride, maybe you think your balance is off. That's all a part of your independence and being able to do the things that you might like to do. Um, so you have to be here and hear the part that most people don't realize. So you're here, so let's hear it. You can build muscle after 50, after 60, and even after 70. My oldest client is 89, and she is still building muscle and continuing to balance and continuing to thrive. Not the same way she did when she was 25, probably, but it's still working for her. It's very effective into all of the life changes she's had. So let's talk about the third thing. That is VO2 max declines, but it's trainable. So you're like, okay, don't get too in the weeds with me on some of this stuff. I'm not gonna, your VO2 max is just the maximum capacity that you have, your cardiovascular capacity to take in oxygen, to utilize that oxygen, as you're moving and as you're, getting, even just getting off the couch or going for a hike or standing in the kitchen for longer periods of time as you're cooking a meal. That capacity is your engine, and it naturally declines with age. So if you say your breathing is off, and or it's harder to keep it going, then that's something you also need to train. um, and that's the key. It declines faster if you don't train it. So how do you train it? Pretty simple. You get up and you go for a walk. Now, there's different kinds of walks. So I would say this one needs to be a brisk walk where you feel your heart rate getting faster and that your breathing becomes a little bit labored. I'm not telling you to go out and run a marathon, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I am saying, look for a hill and walk up that hill. I don't care how slowly, but I do say you need to get your heart rate going, which will increase the need for oxygen in your body, and therefore your breathing increases as well. And as your breathing increases, that also gives you a stronger capacity for more breathing as you learn to train that. And do interval training. So, what is that? It's different for everybody. It depends what you want to do intervals with. So interval running is, you know, maybe 100 yards fast and then jog, and fast and then jog, like an all out sprint. But that's not for everybody. So the next kind of interval would be walking. So you're leisurely walking, even on a treadmill. Let's say you're doing, okay, so let's just start with something pretty easy. Let's say a 20-minute mile or a 15-minute mile is fairly brisk. So let's say a 20-minute mile is where you might want to start. So then maybe for 1 minute, if you're on a treadmill, you're going to make it a 15-minute mile. So for that 1 minute, you're going much faster than you used to. Then you take it back down to the 20 minutes. I hope that makes sense. Drop it in the comments if it doesn't, if I'm confusing you, and I'll definitely answer whatever questions you've got. But so that's interval walking. There's all sorts of different kinds of interval training that you can do. So again, you don't need to run marathons and you don't need to challenge your system constantly, but consistently. So I would say you're going to do intervals. Well, let me back up. So I would say weight workouts, anything that does resistance training that will increase your muscles, needs to occur 2 to 3 times a week. And then the other days, I would say everybody needs a rest day. And then so maybe 2 or 3 times a week, you're challenging your cardiovascular system. And in doing that, now you've really got a pretty balanced workout regimen for yourself, whether it's, you know, in a gym or in your own gym, using resistance bands, using free weights, using machines. That's all on that side. The other part on the cardiovascular training. So I start with walking and running, but those aren't the only cardiovascular programs out there. There's rowing, which is more upper body, or there's swimming, which is amazing. So all of those tax your cardiovascular system. So if you can get in the habit of doing any of those, that would be great 2 or 3 times a week. So all of those go to challenging your system, because your heart healthy is brain healthy. Does that make sense? Your brain needs the same kind of workout as your heart does. Your heart needs to be challenged, and so does your brain. And overall, that helps with where you're going with longevity and your life. So we'll talk about brain health in more detail later on in a different video, but let's talk about where confidence comes from. This one matters a great deal because I don't believe that if you feel, you don't necessarily think that you have the confidence to do something, therefore you don't do it. Does that make sense? Um, you won't try something. Okay, let me give you an example. Just popped in my head. I was away on a helping. We were doing we were in Romania helping a church do some work. And at night, one of the nights after dinner, we were going to play jump rope. And for whatever reason, and I've been able to do this as a kid, double Dutch, where you have two ropes. Men, you might not know this, but you have two ropes going at the same time, and one person jumps into the middle. And for whatever reason, I couldn't get my feet to start. And I think it was because I lacked the confidence that I could actually do it anymore when I didn't even try. And that's the sad part. I didn't even jump in to see, can I actually make this work? Or am I completely like a buffoon? Like all the ropes just hit me. And who cares, right? But it does matter. If you lack the confidence to try or to start, um, that becomes a huge barrier to having better health. Um, a lot of people will wait till they think that they feel confident before they start. They don't want to go to a gym because they're out of shape, or they don't want to, go back to running because they think they're too slow. Or like I haven't swam in, I don't know, easily since probably 2014. So that's 10 years, 12 years. And if I got in a pool, I would probably be out of breath pretty darn quick. But it's because we lack the confidence. So there is no result because the result is it's just a non-starter. And you don't want that, especially as we age. There's certain things we don't need to have happen. Not starting something that we want to try, that's one thing. Um, Not being with people that we want to be around, that's another. Having that community would be huge. So don't wait to feel confident before you start. Start so that you feel confident that you can do it. And confidence is the result of actually doing the thing, whatever that is for you. So, lifting weights, or challenging yourself and going a little bit heavier. That's the result of having confidence that you can attempt it, even if you're like, oh, that's too heavy, or try and run, oh, that's too fast. And you back off and you just work up to it instead of jumping right in with both feet. Is confidence a requirement? I would say no. Do it even if you lack confidence, but it would be great to have confidence. Um, Confidence will come the more you do, but the more you sit and the more you don't do anything, the more your confidence will decrease. Another one that just kind of popped in my head was regarding hiking. I had a gal come to me on a walker and she was bent over. Her first goal was to walk down the center aisle at her granddaughter's wedding, only aided by the gentleman that was supposed to walk down the aisle with her. And she didn't want the walker, and she needed to learn how to get out of a folding chair because that's what was going to be present at the wedding. And these are huge events, everybody. I mean, think of these opportunities that if you lack that confidence and aren't willing to try or aren't willing to train or do something to be prepared to do it, that you miss out on. And that's the saddest thing, is missing out on things in life. But I digress. So we worked on her confidence. We worked on her ability to get out of a chair with arms to start, and then without arms, so that she knew she could get up and out of a chair without arms on the sides to push on. And she finally was able to do it. We worked on her upper body strength, we worked on her lower body strength, and we kept changing the level of her walker. And then inside my gym, I would be her walker. So I put my arm around her, hers on me, as if we were walking down the aisle. And we slowly worked towards she was very vertical and upright. Her posture, her confidence, she glowed as she prepared for this wedding. It was amazing. And she was breathtaking, bought herself a new outfit, had a wonderful time. So confidence follows capability. And that's the biggest thing to remember. Just do a little, your confidence will grow. It follows the ability to do these particular things, whether it's walking, whether it's lifting weights, um, names running, whatever that thing is. Your confidence will follow once you begin to train in that regard. And capability is built through repetition. So trying it once and quitting, that's a no-go. Yeah, you have to give yourself a little bit of time to realize it's going to come. Just a little bit of patience and just start where you are. Don't start where you thought you were 20 years ago or even 10 years ago. Let's even break it down and say 5. Start where you are today and then build so that you can maybe get back to where you were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So small, consistent, imperfect repetitions. You got to keep saying that to yourself. Small, consistent, imperfect repetitions. And therefore, you will get to where you want to be. And with that repetition comes your capability. And with the capability will come the confidence to do any of these things. So let's bring it into real life because this is where most people either move forward or stay stuck. So if you're just starting, you don't need intensity. You just need exposure. So, like I've said, you start with 2 or 3 walks a week, light strength training, body weight or bands, simple nutrition, um, and or nutrition awareness, adding protein. I think most of us have always gone with that early 90s or maybe it's late 80s, low fat, sugar free. That's processed. So I would start with chicken and fish and red meat if that's where you like your protein. If not, there's vegetarian alternatives and all those green vegetables. Some people, and I'll tell you, I do have other professionals I've spoken to that don't eat vegetables because they end up with an allergic reaction to them. So, but they have different things that keep them healthy. And hopefully, I'll have some interviews about that in the future. But um, simple nutrition awareness. All right. So, water, don't let yourself get dehydrated, and add good lean protein. And that's it. Nothing perfect. Doesn't mean that if you decide you're going to have cake at someone's birthday party that's you've blown it completely. Nope. You just keep starting back and you're just consistent. So if you've been on and off and on and off, this is your reset moment. It's not another restart, it's a reset, which means all or nothing thinking. Okay, it's not all or nothing. So we need less of that. It's, hey, this is where I am today. Let's start and keep moving forward. So, more realistic scheduling is another thing. If you know what your schedule is, you need to plan for these opportunities. And in doing that, once you build it into your schedule, it becomes a non-negotiable. It's something you're going to do, something that you're not going to shy away from, but you're going to push through it and push forward. So you don't need to prove anything, right? You need to build something sustainable. And, excuse me, if you're already active, now's the time you refine it. This is where you ask yourself, am I progressively changing or challenging my body? Am I recovering well? And recovery is, there's a gambit of recovery, but stretching. Are you sleeping well? Are you giving your day, yourself a day rest? And by rest, I don't mean you're just sitting in a chair all day, but I mean you're not scheduling a run, or you're not scheduling a bike ride, and you're not scheduling weightlifting, but you're maybe going to meetings. So you're getting out and you're walking, or you're just seeing, your neighbors and having a luncheon, something like that. So that can all be a part of recovering well. And the next question is, am I training for longevity or just burning calories? So let me tell you those three again. Am I progressively challenging my body? Am I recovering well? Am I training for longevity or just burning calories? There's a difference. Okay. There's a difference if you're not. So, a lot of common mistakes. So, after 50, it, it's easy to have mistakes in what we're trying to do for what we thought in our 40s and 30s worked versus what we need for longevity purposes and continuing our good health after 50. So let me call out a few, because awareness here changes everything. Doing too much too soon. I've already touched on that. You start where you're at, not where you thought you were, not where you were 5 years ago, where you are today. Avoiding strength training. I call strength training, but the same is resistance training. So anything with resistance will give you strength. So don't avoid that. You need that muscle. Under eating protein. This is a hard one, because eating a lot of protein, or eating the amount of protein that's actually um, needed for most of our bodies, it just fills you up, which is a great thing, because if you're eating a good, clean, or lean protein, being full on that, there's nothing wrong with that. You do need your carbohydrates and some fats in there, but it's better to eat that than processed foods. Ignoring your recovery, huge. Don't forget, you need a good night's sleep. You need to stretch your muscles. Those things should happen. Otherwise, you start to lose. It's that use it or lose it kind of thing. If you don't stretch, you get tight, and tighter muscles make it harder to do, flexibility, or and it makes it easier to accidentally injure yourself if you don't have good flexibility and stretched your muscles out. And comparing yourself to your younger self, or comparing yourself to your neighbor, or comparing yourself to anybody but who you are that day, because every day is different. Some days you walk in and your just energy level might not be the same as it was yesterday. Maybe you worked out really hard the day before. Give yourself grace, do what you can, and then you walk away. And you said, I did what I could. I did my best today. And then you do something different the next day. So that's it. Don't do those things. Doing too much too soon. Don't avoid strength or resistance training. Don't undereat protein. And don't ignore your recovery. And please don't compare yourself to your younger self. Or maybe if you want to, maybe you're fitter than you were then. So don't compare yourself to someone else. And that one quietly holds a lot of people back, is that comparison to our younger self. So don't do that. All right. So before we wrap this up, I've also enclosed some really quick workout modification exercises that you can do to start right away. So we're going to do sit stand. I call them sit stands, but it's a modified squat. So you'll see that at the end of this. You'll also see push-ups from a windowsill. You don't have to do them all the way down. You can work your way back down to a full push-up. Push-ups, it's such a good exercise. And I'll tell you, most women hate them. Most men love them. Squats, I have male and female clients that both hate them. But I do love squats because they are so great for your legs. And that'll be that. So you'll see those two videos intersected, and we'll put them right after the wrap up. So before we wrapped up, here's what I want you to think about though. Where have I been assuming it's too late instead of adjusting my approach? And here's what I want you to think of or try this week. Choose one simple starting point: a walk, a strength session, a protein goal. And I can also put that in the comments below, is ideally how many grams of protein should you be eating and how to figure that out. And then one thing that I'd love for you to carry forward, and always think about this: you're not behind, and you're building from here. And that's all that counts. So I look forward to seeing you in the next session and get started in that direction for you. Please send me emails or put comments below. I'd love to hear what exercises or what challenges you actually attempted after this episode, if any, or did you decide that you were staying stuck and you need to find another way to move forward? And I'll see you in the next episode. Okay, so modified squats. Pretend you're sitting in a chair, or sit in a chair like I am. No arms, and give yourself the opportunity to stand up, sit down. Look at my knees, they're out at a 90-degree angle. You make it more difficult by hanging your arms at your sides. Come up, come down, come up, come down. All right, that's a modified squat. Get you started. All right, modified push-ups. Remember, push-ups, the weight ends up when you're on your toes and your hands in your upper body. A lot of women can't do that right away. So start on a windowsill or a countertop. Arms out a little wider than shoulders width. Bring your toes back till your arms are straight and your body's in a plank position. Come down, go up. This works your chest and your arms. If you'd like to do like a military push-up, bring your hands in directly under your shoulders and your elbows stay close to your sides. This works your triceps. That's one modification. Another would be a chair or on a bench. So here's a bench, arms a little wider than shoulders width. Again, your body's in a plank. Come down, come up, come down, come up. Same thing. You bring your hands under your shoulders, keep your elbows in tight, and this works your triceps. The next modification is on your knees. So you want to be on the tops of your knees, so you're almost on your femurs. Roll your feet up, come down, come up, come down, come up. That touches on your lower body with the squats, your upper body with the push-ups.